The Tony Farina Report on the Big Picture is sponsored by Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel off the New York State Thruway at exit 48. Find out more at BataviaDownsGaming.com.
Welcome back to the Big Picture. The economy of Niagara Falls, New York has been hit hard these past few years as COVID closed cross-border travel for a long time. Tony Farina catches up with Mayor Robert Restaino for the first of a two-part interview.
Well, good day and welcome to the Tony Farina Reports segment of the Big Picture show. I'm joined today in Niagara Falls City Hall with Mayor Robert Restaino, who was elected a few years ago just before the pandemic. Good luck, Bob. He walked right into it. Well, a lot of us could have never imagined this would happen, but it did. And the first week on my return to WBBZ, we interviewed Mayor Byron Brown, who won a write-in vote to be reelected to a fifth term. And today I'm joined by, as I said, Mayor Robert Restaino of Niagara Falls, a former city court judge, former Board of Education president, an attorney, and now you're the mayor of Niagara Falls. I wrote about it years ago. It was a dream you had as a young man. You wanted to get here. What's it been like? Of course, it's been tough because you walked right into the pandemic, and there's a lot of issues. We'll touch on some of them. But how are you feeling? What's your outlook?
I have to tell you, the last year was rough, obviously, but it was rough everywhere. Rough along all levels of government, rough for business, rough for families, right? But we made it through that. Actually, we did, from a budgetary standpoint, we did better than I would have thought we would be able to.
And this without tourism money, without casino money?
Bridge closed.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of things going against us, but we were able to at least, from a cash flow perspective, do well. But even though that was happening, we had many plans in place, and so now we've been able to launch them over the course of the beginning of this year and throughout the balance of this year. And then, of course, with the announcement of the American Rescue Plan and the opportunity to start planning around that, it's been an exciting 2021. We launched in the mid-fall our project, Centennial Park. So there's a lot of good things getting traction here.
So your outlook is improved.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know that the Buffalo News did an editorial just recently, and they almost compared you to the FDR New Deal, which, of course, rescued the country from the Depression in many ways. Now, I know you embrace any kind of praise, I'm sure, but I know there's a long way to go to be up compared to the New Deal. But nonetheless, you've got $52.7 million in federal rescue money that you're going to use to try to do something like a New Deal for Niagara Falls. You've got a lot of ideas: LED street lights to brighten the city, road paving to improve the streets, and a whole lot of other things. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you have in mind with that $52.7 million rescue money?
You know, we have some structures. Some of our infrastructure has been neglected for some of it as far as 50 years. And we went out and had six different community meetings.
Got the community input.
Bring the community in. Let's find out about what they think this money should be used for. And almost universally, people were talking about things like infrastructure, public safety, improving the appearance of the city. And so it was relatively easy for us as we started to look at what needed to be done in conjunction with what the community was looking for, to start pegging some of those things, structures within city government, improvements in public safety relative to better improved technology, which really is the centerpiece of what we want to do with the American Rescue Plan money. You know, I read an article and it talked about how in 10 years we'll find out what communities spent the money and what communities invested the money. And so it's with that sort of mindset that we took a look at what can we do with this money. I mean, you're not going to get this again. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So what can we do to make sure that as we go forward, the city has a much better outlook for itself? We're going to improve technology all across the layers of city governments so that we can even communicate better with our residents. We're looking to bring broadband throughout the entire city. We want to invest in some smart city technology so that our departments and our community can communicate better across the technology landscape. I would think that improving the lighting, as you've indicated, by itself will brighten the city. It will
LED lighting.
LED lighting will improve just the appearance of the streets and neighborhoods. We're going to put camera technology in so that our neighborhoods are safe, our business communities are safe. You know, if crime hits all urban areas, it would be great to be able to say, okay, let's add so many more police officers, set up a particular division in this downtown core or here or there. But obviously the financing isn't there for that. The revenue isn't there for that. So instead, we use this money to provide better tools for the police. We solved a couple of homicides based on some of the businesses that had cameras. So we feel that if we can provide some technology assistance to our police officers, you know, we'll be able to continue to combat crime like other cities across the country.
Okay, Mayor, you talked about some of the uses for the rescue money and including $5 million for the library. Or is it 10 million? 5 million? 5 for the library. Was it parking lot and et cetera?
Yeah, the floor in the library. I've been connected to the library probably for most of my professional life, either as a board member or as attorney to the library. And that building suffered through a number of construction upheavals. The floor itself has been heaved up as a result of a hydraulic. I believe they indicated it was some hydraulic pressure, which should have been discovered in construction but wasn't. So we're going to invest in that building to improve it. I mean, libraries are important to communities. And so we're going to invest in that building to make sure that that library, which for many is a place of quiet respite, for others, it's their way to get to technology, to get to be able to do the things that others just enjoy out of their home. And still there are some folks like me that like to go and get a book.
So it's an important resource.
Yes, it is.
And you want to make sure it's there and fit for people to use and take advantage of.
Right. We need to make sure that it continues to be a valuable asset, and to do that we have to invest in it.
Well, I think people would agree that's a pretty good investment there.
Thank you.
And also now, I know you've got $3 million for loans to minority and women-owned businesses. Now, how does that work, and how can people apply?
Well, we're working through the qualifications we're going to start with a grant program and sort of roll into a loan program, because what we would like to do is we would like to continue this. And the loans will help us continue this project even after the rescue plan funds have been retired. The idea will be to target minority and women-owned businesses, some of which were the hardest hit by the delay and perhaps the entrepreneurial spirit because of COVID. So we're going to try to give them a hand up. It's going to be administered through the NFC Corporation, the city's lending institution. And what we'll do with that is we'll develop, we'll sort of develop a program requirements, and then obviously we expect that probably the first quarter of this coming year, February, March, we should have all of those things marched out so people will know how to contact our folks at NFC and apply for those grants or loans.
One of the things upcoming for Niagara Falls is a 311 call-in number that's going to be used to help control and receive feedback from neighbors, from residents about the conditions in their neighborhoods and complaints they might have. Mayor, what about that 311 call system?
Through a grant from the Attorney General, we received a little over $1 million, and in that we're completing the software upgrade. But we're going to be able to provide residents with an opportunity to call in a complaint directly to a pothole or a tree or some other thing. And then they'll also have the ability to track how that complaint is working through the system.
The caller will.
The caller will.
Yeah. When does that start, Mayor?
We anticipate that the full software package also should be up no later than March.
Okay. Now, also, there's some other things that you're involved in that are very important. The sewage treatment plant has had a lot of problems. The terrible discharge a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And now the effort is underway to try to bring money in. I know you're working with Congressman Higgins and others to try to get federal money or state money or both.
Both. I mean, federal money because we have the infrastructure bill, and that's obviously going to be funneled through the states. So I'm working with him to direct some of that money that comes to New York State to improve this facility. I mean, it's, you know...
What do you need? How much?
Well, what
really, to get it...
What the Water Board has pegged as a number to bring the facility to an improved state and to get away from the carbon method and into a biologic method, $200 million.
Is that realistic?
To receive it?
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about trillions, I certainly think that if the state of New York, let me say this, the city of Niagara Falls is the second most visited location in the state of New York. All of my friends and neighbors throughout New York State know the importance of Niagara Falls. All of us also know what happened a few years back when we made headlines with the lower Niagara. If we don't want those crazy things to happen again, and we have a facility that is in desperate need of just modernization, it seems to me, again, that's a smart investment in tomorrow.
Now, they put a Band-Aid on it before,
Right.
after, but you're saying you really need $200 million to get it up to snuff.
Yeah, if you want to have a facility that isn't going to have those kinds of disruptions, we have to invest and do it smart, do it right.
So where does that stand right now? You're just working on trying to develop the...
Yeah, as you know, the Water Board is a separate entity from the city. The city is providing, whatever support we can to help with their ask for this funding. I mean, obviously, the city taxpayers and Water Board ratepayers are the same entity. So it's to our advantage to team up and to collaborate with the Water Board to try and push this across the finish line.
Well, we certainly wish you success on that because, as you said, you got a tourist hub here of Niagara Falls, one of the greatest tourist attractions in the country, and you don't want to see that garbage in the water when they come here.
It was not everyone all across the country was aware of that.
Oh, front page.
It was everywhere. So.
Unfortunately, bad news. But
right.
Mayor Robert Restaino, thank you very much for spending some time with us. I know you got a busy schedule, as always, and let's hope 2022 is a good year for you in Niagara Falls.
Absolutely.
And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Tony.
Good to see you,
Good to see you always.
Yep.
Thank you, Tony, Farina, and Mayor Restaino. For more information on the city of Niagara Falls, you can go to this website, niagarafallsusa.org. We end our show like we started, with another clip of the legendary Betty White. Remember, if you're watching on Sunday, enjoy some of Betty's most memorable television episodes starting at 2 p.m. here on WBBZ-TV. I'm Judge Penny Wolfgang. Thanks for watching The Big Picture. We will see you next week.
Good morning, Lou. Oh, good morning, Sue Ann. Ted will brief you.
Sue Ann, park it over here. That's the camera. When the red light goes on, that means that the camera is about...
I know what I'm doing. Just cue me and then stick a sock in it.
And action. And now with a new feature, news from a woman's point of view, Sue Ann Nivens.
Thank you very much, Ted. And good evening. Massive mudslides wreak havoc. Late last evening, huge mudslides in south central Alaska buried the picturesque little village of Nornsk, long noted for its tapestries and woolly artifacts. Apple-cheeked housewives bustling down the cobbled streets were swept away by slithering mounds of mud. Let's all hope that survivors remembered that stubborn grime can be removed with a blend of and cornstarch. Victims, plucked gagging from the slime, were treated at the high school gym, stunningly decorated for that night's prom, the theme of which is fun on the farm. Volunteers, dressed as cows and chickens, circulated among the injured, passing out hand-embroidered tea towels. Hot soup, always a nourishing basic, was ladled from a tureen concealed inside a huge pink papier-mâché pig. And now, back to Ted.